Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we've spent 3 days, and during 3 days we've gone through the Ides of March, which was the 15th. We've gone through Palm Sunday, and now we're into St. Patrick's Day. So we knocked down 3 in one weekend. It's funny that last night what came out about death and transitions and fear, a complete 100% lack of fear in any of that for all of us, for us or anyone else, knowing that it's simply an illusionary thing that's happening. And all my close, it's funny it came out because all of my close people have passed in March. My mother went out on the 15th of March. My father was born and buried in March, and on and on. There was a lot of exiting in March in my world. And from a little child, I just knew there wasn't any death. I don't know how, I just knew it. I knew there wasn't any death, and I couldn't imagine why people were making such a big deal out of when people would go, other than I came to understand personal loss and the missing, but I couldn't understand why people were so shocked when people left, because we come in and everyone does it, and it didn't make sense to me. But through the years, and even when my father passed, I remember he didn't want any funeral or anything like that, but he married a lady late in life, and she did the whole shebang, open casket, the whole thing. And I went there, and I'm looking down, at him in this casket, and I remembered saying to him, "Get up! What is the matter with you?" Because he looked so young to me. They had, being a makeup artist in the film industry, but I looked down, and he just looked fabulous. It looked like there's nothing wrong with you. Get up out of there. It was so clear to me, But, and I feel the same way about this period of time we're going into from this, this what they call the Easter week. It's just so clear to me that what the Master was showing us was indeed there is none. There just is none. And but what is happening for this week, I don't know. Have you all read The Easter of Our Lives? Have you ever had that little booklet? I think it's also a chapter in a book, and I'm sorry to say I don't know what book it's in. Does anyone know? But look it up in your book. See if you have it, because it's completely different from the, it really adds, it's a different view. The focus is different. The focus in here is very much on eliminating our humanhood and nailing it to the cross and passing on, dropping out of it, and just going on into, as our Herb Fitch tape was so clear on, you get to pick visible or invisible, and it's your choice at all times of seeing us or seeing ourselves or seeing them. And this includes all that guilt stuff. I get to choose, am I going to look at this visible self, or am I going to look at my invisible self? And there's always a choice in that. But I was interested in seeing that the focus of this was very much on the betrayal of those around us and the human scene. It's very much Jesus's awareness that he had to go through it alone, and I don't know if you all have had betrayal experiences yet of a major kind, but I certainly have. And those I was surprised at, because I was not aware of as a child. I just assumed everyone loved everyone forever. I never, I was, I guess, very naive, very innocent in that awareness, and I just also had this, that everyone always loved everyone, and that if you were put on a desert island with only one person, that you would fall in love with them, Now I've come to wonder, but anyway. But as a child, I guess I must have seen the spirit side of everyone. But in this little booklet, the celebration of Easter is not to commemorate an event which took place 2,000 years ago, but to reveal a principle, so that when we face a world filled with wickedness in high places, whether they be high spiritual places, it's a very good booklet, whether it be high spiritual places, high political places, or high commercial places, we can know the impotence of human scheming, human planning, human ambitions, evil, degradation, and iniquity. We can stand fast in the faith that God itself is our power. God itself is our presence. It makes no difference what religious holidays we celebrate if we do not take from that principle that they show forth. For us, the principle is all. There is no deeper degree of human iniquity than for a friend to betray a friend, or a student to betray a teacher, or a teacher to betray a student, for a disciple to betray the master. I have proved in this experience, this is Jesus, where I have proved in this experience that even that the deepest degree of iniquity, even betrayal, is not power. So all of those experiences of when we feel, quote, they turned their back on us, they walked out on us, they aren't living up to what they promised. The loyalties of humanity are just that, the loyalties of the visible, not the invisible. And the bigger the betrayal, whether it be financial, emotional, spiritual, the bigger the betrayal, the harder we work with this principle on the board. The mind of the individual, and you see any kind of betrayal is a call to prayer and recognition. For at that moment of what we see as betrayal, that individual doesn't know it's God's self, doesn't know yours, is not recognizing the invisible in itself or himself, herself, or in you. And at that moment, if we can catch it at the moment of its happening, we can, as Barbara Muhl always said, rush to forgiveness. So right now in your mind, when I said those words to you and I saw heads shaking that you've had experiences, at that moment, we rush to forgive. Now what does that mean? It is forgiving. We give over our personal judgment of those appearances, and we rush to the invisible as quick as we can, because when it starts to enter, it will only take us down further into the story, into the script, into the drama, and it's going to take us down, not them. What do I mean by down? I mean down into the visible, into the humanhood, into that, ain't it awful? Look what they've done to me. Oh, poor me. You know, and it's so hard, that part. You know, it sounds like a simple principle. Know the truth of their being. Right. It is a simple principle in speaking it, but in walking it, demonstrating it, consciously having the ability to remember there's no one invisibly betraying anyone invisibly. It is all being done in the world that is disappearing moment by moment by moment. If you're seeing it, if you're hearing it, it is not of God. It is of the visible. It is of that which dies, that which goes away, that which dissolves, that which disappears. So why would I put faith in that which is not going to last? The one thing we know about God is it is from everlasting to everlasting. Now, am I going to put my hope, faith, and trust in that which disappears, rusts, as the Bible says, that which rusts, that which dissolves? Even our homes, our houses don't even last anymore. I mean, you take a 100-year-old house and try to repair it, even a 50-year-old house. In Los Angeles, they're tearing down everything that's 20 years old already and putting up something else. You know, it's just amazing how very short-lived so many of the buildings are even. So here we are with someone in front of us, flesh and bones, and we're going to put our trust in them? No. We can put our trust in the Christ consciousness, the mind of the individual seeking help or seeking our recognition is what always is standing before us. Only always. I don't care if it's in the supermarket. I don't care if it's the policeman stopping to give, I just got one the other day, a lovely little man bending over into my car saying, "Do you know how fast you were going?" It was the first warning I've ever had. And it was interesting because I was distracted. I had a friend in the car, and I usually use cruise control on this one highway for this very purpose, but I had to go around a truck and left it off. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. But upon him leaning in the window, I could see the light in him, and I did do recognition, but it wasn't because I didn't want a ticket, of course not, but it was that I realized at that moment that that person was there out of love and was there because there is a speed limit, and the speed limit is put there out of love, not out of let's see if we can catch her, you know. And it straightened me up, and I've had to watch that. I have a new car, and I'm not really used to how fast it's going when it's going, you know. And now I'm more aware, you know. Plus, about a week later, I got a ticket in the mail from a camera thing. So evidently, guess who's been speeding? And it's always just a little smidgen over, you know. It's not a lot. It's just enough to get picked up. And I don't even have a red sports car, you know, but I am under the radar of the law of this land, and I need to obey the rules and the regulations. Yes, I'm eligible too. Now, that is all in the visible world. And that is where we have a difficult time. Just because we have access to the invisible doesn't mean we get to go against the laws of this land. As Jesus said, we must pay Caesar's things to Caesar and God's things to God until what? Until we understand the magic of that crucifixion was to show for sure the difference in the visible and the invisible. It sure looked like power, didn't it? It sure looked like Jesus was powerless over Caesar, didn't it? But who walked out of the tomb and proved different? Now, did the master prove that to Caesar? No. Did they ever know that they did not kill him? It doesn't record that any of them woke up and knew that. Who knew? Those that were vibrating on the frequency, on the ability to vibrate in the frequency of the invisible. Those were who were able to recognize the life continuation. It was simply a temporary inconvenience. But what a drama has been made for 2,000 years. But that drama has been needed for people to awaken, for people to surrender, to people to have a master to believe in, to someone to go and say, like the master, I of my own self am nothing. The Father doeth the work, not I, the little I. That which goes before me to make the crooked places straight. As this little booklet points out, the Easter of our lives, it is pretty much making it clear that we all get to go through all of these experiences. The Job experience, the Moses experience, the Christ experience, the three temptations, that experience to place, person, place, or thing, giving it the power over us. It has no power unless I give it to it or to them. But can I do that by myself? No. It's that constant recognition of laying down my human condition, my human life, that ego which thinks it's running the show. Oh yes, I must come back home now. For it is I and then I rest, and I come back to Christ mind. The Christ mind is what recognizes the Christ mind in another, not little Dulcie. She does not have that ability. It is only when I surrender to that which is greater than myself, that which I behoove to lift me, that which I seek, that which I knock upon the door of the Christ consciousness. It is opened, it is given, it is I, right there in that moment where I am. Not when I get home to my meditation and my books and my tapes, but right there in the marketplace. We are promised that we will get to be in the world but not of it. We are promised that God goes before us to make the crooked places straight. Forgiveness is a promise. you will come to forgive. The four main principles we get to live with day in and day out is surrender, acceptance, forgiveness, and gratitude. For out of the gratitude come the 10,000 things. If I am grateful for one, it doubles. If I am ingrateful and complaining, it doubles. I get double the trouble, or I get double the gratitude. It's just the way the law of this universe is. For this is an invisible law. That which I focus on manifests. So if I am focused on God, on spirit, on the invisible, if I pause, as Joel says, before I go out my door, before I start my car, and especially when that phone rings, do I pause and move to the invisible, and move to the Christ mind. For I never know what the request is going to be on the other side, nor will I know if it belongs to me or someone else. Just because certain calls come in does not necessarily mean it's for you to heal, fix, go over and do for. It's always an asking. It's always a moving into, I know who you are, and I know that right there where you are is the presence of God, lifting you, taking care of you. Just surrender. And you know, when someone reaches out for help, that is a posture of I of my own self can do nothing. I need to call someone who's going to tell me who I am, for I have forgotten. So as we move toward the celebration, the Easter sunrise, the sunrise of our souls, it's a knowing moment by moment by moment. Presence. I am. Don't believe everything you hear in the visible, that you see in the visible. Go in, check it out. Is this my truth? We have gone to the from the deep silence of my peace, through the thunder of silence, to the recognition of the visible versus the invisible, and yet coming forth all as one. God appearing as and we move into what is, allowing, knowing there isn't anything to do, there is just being, being. Now that I am no longer working, people say, well, what are you doing? I'm being, just being. How delicious being is after experiencing all the doing. And yet I'm more active in my life than I've ever been. But it's a flow. It's as though something else is moving and living and breathing and doing that which is before us. And we experience the everyday living in this dimension, for we have chosen it as, I call it, the planet of mirrors. The mirrors around me tell me where my consciousness is, what I need to be listening. When I have moved out of the invisible to the visible, there's always a mirror right there to let me know. But not in punishment, not in judgment, in pure love of, come home, my darling, come home. Remember who you are. Being gentle with ourselves, laughing. The more light-hearted we are, the more lightly that we take our path, the more lightly we take our studies, the closer we are to the invisible spirit. No more heaviness, no more beating up of self, beating the poor human being. No more. Hang that on the cross once and for all. And if you've had yourself there, take yourself down. For it is I. We are no longer going to be allowed to not know God being here now. The earth is too awake and alive and happening. We are amongst the light workers. And it is so simple. We just know. That's all. Just know. Just recognize. And remember that joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. There's a lightness to that. Be like a feather on this path. Be the spirit that you are. This little book is filled with the word angel. Joel is constantly referring to angels in here. And we were talking about angels the other day. Every page just about has something about the angels that are taking care of us and that are there no matter what. And he refers constantly to the spirit of those that are literally taking care of us. I will never leave you and I will never forsake you. The entire mission of the Master was to reveal that there are guardian... I've never read this, and it's underlined when I got to it. The entire mission of the Master was to reveal that there are guardian angels that are around us, are the everlasting arms. Are we willing to recognize that there is that unseen presence and power upon which we can rely with greater faith than on anything in the visible? What I want you to see from this Easter unfoldment is that this invisible presence, power, or force is able to pick us up, but that it can do that only as we avail ourselves of it, as we release our hold on earthly powers. The infinite invisible does not reach us and does not take over while we are relying on that which is visible, finite, and temporal. Only as we release our mental hold on these, only as we give up our faith and trust in the visible does this invisible power take over and reveal to us the inner world of reality. So there's your job. Break all attachments. Break all codependencies, except on God, on the invisible. Remember, the Master said very clearly, my kingdom is not of this world. In that statement you have the Easter lesson. My kingdom is not of this world. My disciples did not come to my aid. The people I healed and fed did not stand by or even testify for me. But watch and you will see the invisible angels, the invisible power which will enable me to walk out of the tomb and ascend above all mortal discord. Human beings will betray, human powers will fail, but I can call on angels. Yes, I can call on angels. Watch these angels pick me up. Watch them lift me from the cross and take me from the tomb. That is the glory of the Father's message. That is what the Father has been trying to say through me. This is Joel speaking now, through me, and you have not seen it. Have ye eyes and do not see? Have ye ears and do not hear? I am bringing you a message not of greater good in this kingdom, but of a power and of a presence from the invisible kingdom. My kingdom is not of this world. I have overcome this world. Remember, the emphasis of this message is on the infinite, invisible, and on developing a consciousness of dependence on that which is not seen. Seek divine companionship. Divine companionship, invisible. Wow. Pretty absolute, isn't it? Goes right along with Herb's tape the other night. Always a choice. Human, the visible. Spiritual, the invisible. Happy Easter.